Thanks for tuning in once again to the Silver Bullet Report on the Silver Bullet channel. I'm Greg DePalma along with Steve Faraci. It's been a few weeks, but we are back and we are ready to go full charge. And this is it, Steve. We had our opportunity to kind of, warm the engines of the channel. And we've just spent the last few weeks kind of taking a look back at what we thought worked, what's going to work in the future. And now we're ready to go 100%. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a little trial and error. We're trying to do the best channel possible for everyone. So yeah, there's gonna be a little testing grounds there. The my internet issues did not help. I think that costed us a good 10 days, but we got all that set now. So nothing to worry about there.
And you've got, of course, your new little background there. We've got a nice looking template. We've got some all cool little icons and all sorts of gadgets. So we're working on it. And, it's not just about all the bells and whistles. It's more important is the information that we're going to talk about. And Steve, I know you want to talk first and foremost about crypto because that's on everybody's minds over the past few weeks. It's the biggest story, maybe even in the world.
Well, that may well be. Last time, our last show, things obviously cryptos are going, haywire right to the upside. Everyone was in crypto mania, feeling it, buying mansions and cars and all kinds of good things. But I did see about 2.5 weeks ago, or right before this started, we did see a head and shoulders pattern forming in the cryptos, which portended that we were going to see a move to the downside. So I did know ahead of the time that we would see this down move. Now, using the charts, that meant a move down to either just above the 30,000 mark or even the previous top, which is around 20,000. So we're waiting for the charts to work that out for us, as they always do. So we got the move down to 30,000. What we've seen now is what could be a dead cat bounce, is what they call it. It'll move down to that first resistance floor.
Okay.
And we saw a bounce back up. What we see from here is what's going to tell us where the market's going to head from here, right? So now we're seeing the move back down to test that 30,000 mark that we saw before. If the move breaks through that 30,000 to the downside, I think we're going to see $17,000 to $20,000 Bitcoin. That'll be the next strong resistance, which I personally hope happens, and you all should as well. If you're waiting to buy, that's where I like that market at 17 to 20,000.
Okay, so in other words, you need to be patient right now. That's
patience.
Yeah,
absolutely. Always be patient. This is not time to panic. I mean, cryptos do this. We've seen this in Bitcoin a couple times, 50, 80% retracements, right? So this is perfectly normal. We just want to see what's going to happen right now. Is it going to go down to 17 to 20K? Or is it going to put what we call a double bottom in, which I described to you in gold a few weeks ago? We had a double bottom, and it's been to the upside ever since. So we've seen that pull back up. Now it's approaching that 30,000 Bitcoin again. Is it going to form a double bottom and then shoot up to what we think the next target would be 100,000? Or is it going to go ahead, break through the 30,000 and go all the way down to 17 to 20, which again, I hope is what happens, because that's a great buying opportunity. There's a lot of people that would like to enter this market at this point because it's building chart, a nice chart for the future. We're starting to see, what is the staying and lasting power of we'll talk about Bitcoin, but when we do, we talk about all cryptos because they kind of move in synchronicity.
Yeah.
So yeah, the next target would be 100,000, 150,000, but we need to see, are we going to get that extra 10K down, or is this a double bottom and then resuming the move to the upside? So hold tight with your money till we get confirmation of that, which should happen here shortly. Next 2-3 weeks.
Okay.
We should know exactly where it's going to go from there.
Okay.
And
by the way, Elon Musk, I wanted to interrupt because Elon Musk, his name is probably just as been as big in synchronicity with crypto than anything else. Is that fair? Is that fair to say that one man or one thing can dictate the crypto market?
Yeah, it's been a lot of discussion around that. Is a market legitimate when one person can come in and move a market like that? The reason we stopped here at 30,000 is I call that the Elon Musk pump, right? That's where he came in and announced that he was buying, all that Bitcoin, that you could now buy Teslas with Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And not right after that, you heard all these institutional investors and big names, his cronies in the tech field and everything. They piled in, started buying, ran it up to 60K. So is it a legitimate market when one guy can actually change the sentiment or create the sentiment like that? Most would say no, but it's a new market. We just don't know how to treat this thing yet. You know what I mean? It's its own entity. But like I said, nothing goes up like a parabolic move. Nothing in history has ever done that. So I knew we were going to get a pullback at some point. Like I said, the Head and Shoulders told us that was the time. But yeah, to your point, so he said you could buy Teslas. He bought all the Bitcoin. Got the pump going. But then that's on the tailwind side. But then weeks later, on the headwind side, the same guy says now you can no longer buy Teslas with Bitcoin. Right. And he also added to that he's now not a proponent because of the dirty energy component. They use a lot of coal to mine Bitcoin. So these tech guys say that's a big no-no in their opinion. So
like he didn't know that before.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a great point. You didn't know that a few weeks ago when you were pumping it to the sky and benefiting from that run. You didn't know that they were using coal to mine. Of course you did.
Sure.
So for that reason alone, you really got to pay attention to the charts. Still are holding true to what they should, but you got to really pay attention to the cryptos when they start to turn one way or the other.
Well, and you talked about the volatility of crypto, and this is what you meant. I mean, this shouldn't be this active, or just because one individual comes out and changes his mind about what he believes, in whether he believes in the product or not. That's the reason why, if you're going to get into crypto, you better be aware that this is going to happen, which again is the reason why you have to be patient, and you can't bring in your feelings and your attitude if you're going to be buying and selling crypto. It just won't work.
Right. Yeah, it's the most sentiment-driven market. So, be prepared for stuff like this. If you've been listening to the show, this really isn't a big surprise to you, is it?
No.
So let's talk about some other factors. That's a great point. I call it the Elon Musk factor. That's probably the biggest one lately. China, let's talk about some governments though, right? Turkey banned Bitcoin not that long ago.
Yep.
China, which kind of flip-flopped, about a month ago, they said, for our citizens, Bitcoin is a viable speculative play. You know what I mean? And then, of course, as soon as Elon Musk came out, I find the coordination between these two interesting. But as soon as Elon came out and made those comments about Bitcoin, China completely banned Bitcoin at the same time. So, of course, it was going to go down. But like I said, the timing of these things was awfully interesting, right? At the same time, we also had several government figures like Jay Powell start to talk about regulation for Bitcoin. We had Gary Gensler, who's a well-known guy in the manipulation market. He's also a professor at MIT teaching cryptocurrencies to students. He knows this stuff inside out. He was appointed to the head of the SEC, which is the agency that regulates cryptocurrency. So these are not coincidences, Greg.
Oh, it doesn't sound like it to me.
So we have all this government regulation starting that whole thing starting to seep in here at the same time as the Elon Musk China factor. Just kind of like the writing on the wall there. Why is that? Well, let's look at what else happened in the time since we've done our last show. China has come out with their own CBDC, which is a central bank digital currency, which the whole world is going to be running on shortly. Jay Powell, in his speech 4 days ago, started talking about us coming out with our CBDC. So there it is again. I mean, these guys foreshadow everything that's coming. Now, will they allow competition with their central bank digital currencies? I tend to doubt it. Can it still be a spec play as long as you have to change it back into a CBDC, which is within their control? I think that might be the most likely way this goes. You know what I mean? They won't. I don't think in the United States they'll say like China, you can't do Bitcoin anymore.
Okay.
I think as long as you have to redeem Bitcoin through their central bank digital currency and they have control of that transaction, I think they'll be okay with that. And just a plethora of other little news that actually plays into the sentiment of where Bitcoin goes from here. Like the big exchange Binance, I was talking with you the other day. I was telling you they're under investigation for money laundering.
Yes.
So that's big. I mean, that hurts the confidence, I think. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I certainly wouldn't make any big purchases and leave it on that exchange. I mean, I think it hurts where Binance does their business to be under investigation for money laundering. The headline certainly doesn't help the sentiment, that's for sure. And then we had Bitcoin being used as ransom in that Colonial Pipeline, the oil situation.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Okay.
So making it look like only criminals use Bitcoin. You know, you got to understand these headlines.
I know.
I
That's
mean,
right.
how do you feel about that? Is that what you think? Like, is that what you gather from that?
I guess it's probably because I know better, but I can see, look, that's the thing is like when you do go about your everyday life the way most citizens do, you're not you're not zeroing in on reading between the lines. So I can easily see how people could just let that go and not get what is really going on. And so yeah,
Right.
it's
Right. Yeah. Again, we're talking about sentiment here, and that's what drives the market. So you don't have to look behind the curtain. We just want to know what goes through somebody's mind when they hear these things, right? And how that affects the market.
yeah.
And I think another thing that when we saw the bounce, it's funny how they coordinate these headlines, right? So we went down to 30,000, then we saw it bounce back up to roughly 40K, right? Maybe even a little bit more. And during that bounce, Michael Saylor, who's a big name in the crypto space, announced that he was hosting a meeting between Elon Musk and the miners of North America to talk about transparency with mining Bitcoin and the dirty energy aspect of it.
Okay.
So that was great news. Oh, wow. Now they're going to work something out, and get this to more of a greener thing. And you saw that during the bounce. So again, the point I'm making here is the sentiment train that they're creating here ebbs and flows with the market. I think it's a bunch of white noise personally, but it's funny how they coordinate these things with exactly how the market's moving. And you can talk a little bit about this, Greg. Another thing I wanted to mention, just bits and pieces, is they've now added Theta and Theta Fuel to the Exodus wallet. You use that wallet.
Yes.
You know more about that than I do. Why don't you tell everyone about that and your experience?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm just going to give it an example of the fact that I used to use it, or I still do. I found it basically working through my sportsbook account, and I stumbled upon Exodus. I think it was some tutorial somewhere about use Exodus wallet, and I looked at it and I was like, wow, it looks like it's real simple wallet to use. So I went, and not only was it simple, but it was cheaper. And now I was able to factor that in with my Theta purchase, which I purchased some more Theta a few days ago, and
Through the Exodus wallet, you
through the
exchanged
Exodus
for it?
wallet. And so, because when we did our tutorial, we went through SimpleSwap.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took a little bit longer and it was just an extra step. But
Right.
Exodus has its own wallet. So you're basically just going from, because I had it in Coinbase. So basically, I took my money from Coinbase and I deposited it into my Exodus account, and it went right into my Exodus wallet. And it was pretty fast within a few minutes. The fees were really low. And it's just such an easy exchange to use. I mean, I just love it. I think that so much so that I actually tried contacting their customer service, the people in their marketing department, and told them, "Hey, I don't see the Exodus name in a whole lot of places. I would love to brand your name. I think this is a company that people need to know about."
Well, it is funny. Like this has been available now for over a week. Like you can't find any information other than the stuff I found. Like there's very little if you
Yeah.
Google. Yeah, I think they need to get the word out for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, it's all internal. It saves a step. For U.S., we're talking about for people who want to buy Theta in the U.S., this is a godsend because Exodus is a very reliable and well-known wallet, and it can all be an internal exchange right there. I mean, I think that's huge news. That's for people that are trying to pile into Theta, which a lot of people are. I think
And by the way, just make sure if you do open up an account, and most people who I would imagine who open up a new account should have the new app available. But just in case, that was one of the sticking points that we had to get through, is just to make sure you update your app.
Right.
That will, because then it's updating the fact that now Exodus takes theta. So that's just a simple little
Yeah,
thing
what he's trying to say, folks, is like when he did it, it wasn't showing up at all in the after, next to the swap coin. He's like, I don't have it here. And we went back and looked up that you have to update the app if you haven't previously downloaded that wallet.
Yep.
If you're doing it for the first time now, it should already be in there. That's a big point. So we don't want you to freak out.
What are these guys talking about? There's no theta here. By the way,
that for some reason you got left out, right?
Yeah. I did want to ask you though, because I know we only have a minute or so left. The difference between theta and theta fuel.
Yeah, again, I'm not a crypto guy. Theta fuel is basically the means of exchange. Like when you start using theta for all the transactions, and it will be probably the most used for transactions, it uses a tiny bit of theta fuel to do that transaction. That's why I think it's going to be free. Like you're not going to pay. Like when you do peer-to-peer transacting,
yes,
it uses a little bit of your theta fuel.
Okay.
According to one of the experts that I'm in touch with, like 1 T fuel is enough to do a lifetime of transactions. So, but it's also its own investment. People are actually investing into theta fuel. It does appreciate as well. So it does have that aspect to it, but its function is to fuel the transaction, as the name kind of portends.
So is that then a completely different? If you're really zeroed in on theta and you've done your homework on theta and that's what you want to buy, that doesn't necessarily mean that if I'm going to buy theta, then I should also why shouldn't I just buy theta fuel? Because if theta is going to go up, theta fuel is going to go up. Is that the case? And if that's not the case, how would you advise people who are interested in hey, maybe I should have both of them?
Well, that's your choice. And there's a lot of discussion about that. Like theta fuel is also an investment or a speculation, but its main function is to facilitate the transactions. It's necessary. You could earn now. There's if you go on the website, there's such a thing as staking your theta, which automatically is earning theta fuel all the time.
Okay.
Like you're staking your tokens.
Okay.
And you're earning theta fuel when you do that automatically. It's similar to mining.
Okay.
But for a different reason. So I don't want to get too into that. It gets a little technical. But if you go on the theta website, you can learn about all that. It's pretty interesting. Theta is going to be a fascinating thing. We got Tom Brady ready to announce his autograph relationship with Theta. So I think I don't want to say that he hasn't done it yet.
Sure.
But it looks like it's 100% going to happen. So exciting things. Like I said, huge companies are continuing to have contracts with Theta. Sony, Samsung, Lionsgate, all these companies. These guys know what they're doing. They know what the future is. So,
and that's another show another segment we're going to do soon. Is that company? What's it called? The one that you mentioned, the autographs, the
NFTs.
Yes, that just hearing about what that is, and it's just a lot of interesting information that we should discuss, because I just don't think I know a lot of people don't know what that is, because I didn't know what it was, and when I read it, I was like, man, this is just blows my mind. So we got to talk about that sometime.
And as many people that don't know what it is, it's exploding. I mean, there's so much money rushing into that space.
Yep.
And lots of entrepreneurs coming up with their own version of that. So that's like a whole show right there.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't want this channel to become a crypto NFT. Like there's so much information around these that's pertinent.
Yeah.
It's we can't help but talk about it. But yeah, interesting stuff. I'm fascinated by it. And like I said, that hasn't always been the case for me. Just because I still don't understand a lot of it in terms of, true price discovery and things like that. But the charts, I'm starting to see, more chart consistency, and that there is a pattern here. So as an investor, that's all you really need to see, right?
Yep.
And by the way, folks, none of this is investment advice. This is our own opinion, how we view the markets. You decide what you need to do with that information.